Oh, we've got a doozy here. What a prime bit of steak here. Bit of ribeye. Bit of filet. I was sent this in a YouTube comment by MC, YouTuber, commenter, subscriber, follower. Thank you so much. This is epic. This is a hilarious article on StarTrek.com. Before we get into this, I'm making a movie. It's a high concept horror fantasy film. We smashed the first target. We're on our way to the second stretch target now. So I'll leave a link down below. Go check it out. I'll also leave the latest update video above. You can see the props, the weapons that were made for the production. You can kind of see the lengths that we're going to get this thing as high grade as possible. The devil's in the details, as I say a lot in that video. And also, if you donate $5 or more, you're in for a chance of winning a prop for the film. So, pretty cool way. Pretty good reason to support an indie filmmaker, I guess. Now, let's check this. This is very funny. Like I've taken a rudimentary gloss over it, right? As I like to do with these kind of articles, and the reason being, I like to kind of preempt what they're going to say, because you know when I say, "Oh, of course," that's a genuine reaction. It is a genuine reaction to the nonsense that these people are saying, and you can predict it. You can always predict it. There's commentary on marginalised groups in here. There's comments on privilege. It's laughable. So the humbling of Admiral Picard. On Star Trek Picard, our beloved Admiral is forced to reckon with his privilege as a Starfleet officer from a planetary superpower. Okay then, let's check it out, shall we? Star Trek has always dealt in stories about interspecies and cross-cultural interactions, and the way each franchise tells these stories in a commentary is a commentary on the era that produced them. Star Trek Picard is no exception. Yeah, I remember before this came out, because there was a time that I was excited about this, and then we learnt more, and then Patrick Stewart opened his mouth and said, no, it's going to be to do with Brexit, and also Donald Trump, and I was just like, oh, for God's sake, like, that's it, you've lost me now. And yeah, and like I did that video saying, yeah, it's all about Brexit and Donald Trump. People were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, literally, it's a quote from this man. Why are you denying it? It's a direct quote. In 2020, representation and inclusion have just as much, if not more, importance than diversity. What? Aren't they both the same thing? Representation and inclusion are more important than diversity. Are they not the same? Claiming to be an ally to marginalised people without acknowledging your own privilege feels hollow. There's so many buzzwords. Just all the buzzwords. Picard's ensemble of writers and actors lean into all of this. Even number one, the dog. Even number one, the dog represents a marginalised community, serving up a multi-layered narrative that explores how power and privilege play out in relationships with people who are different. The dog. The dog represents a marginalised community. Are these people high when they write this? Are you high when you wrote this? Are you for real? One of the reasons why they chose the synthetic storyline is because it's about othering, theorises Dr. Thomas Parham III, an African-American communications professor and author of Hailing Frequencies, Open Communication in Star Trek The Next Generation. It's all about othering. Yeah, maybe. Or it's all about the fact that there's no originality, and that's been a hot topic of the time. Do you think about that? Did you think about that? Well, The Next Generation positioned Captain Picard as an ally to marginalised groups, from Klingons to androids. Picard challenges him to check the privilege he's enjoyed through various series as an able-bodied male Earthling of elevated Starfleet rank. Here are 6 times Picard called Picard out during Season 1. Here's 6 times we turned Picard into a bitch. Picard is finally getting old. He's looked the same for like 50 years. What are you on about? While Picard is used to taking care of other people. His titular show finds the Admiral at 93, now needing other people to take care of him. He's in no position to save anybody, and in fact, his inability to do so results in Dahj's untimely death. He could barely run up a flight of stairs. It was embarrassing. Despite this, Picard still seems to view himself as at least a little immortal. Well, he is now, isn't he, by the end of the bloody show? He embarks on a mission with a brain abnormality that could kill him, as Dr. Moritz Benayon warns. Being agile and able-bodied is a privilege Picard has taken for granted. I don't think it's him taking it for granted, especially if he's acknowledging the fact that he can't. What? Don't we... What? Oh my god. Even after his Borg assimilation and the lack of it becomes a crucial plot device that carries through to the season finale, it was not a plot device. It was terrible. It didn't achieve anything. It was just there because, oh, do you know what's cool? This is cool. Picard is no longer relevant. In his own show! He's no longer relevant. I like the fact that they're using this to try to like back up their points, but they're just showing how bad the show is. Not being relevant is the ultimate slap in the face for high-profile people used to calling the shots. Picard is visibly bothered when a Starfleet receptionist asks for his name when he arrives for his meeting with Admiral Clancy. She, too, takes him down a peg, calling out his sheer effing hubris for even showing up with a request for reassignment, calling his Tal Shiar conspiracy theory the delusions of a once great man desperate to matter. But, you know, no one liked this. No one liked it at all. His resignation wrecked his relationships. Yeah, but how? Again, this was an element that didn't make any sense, right? So, for Raffi and Elnor, Picard's resignation had far more dire consequences than irrelevance. When Picard finally does try to reconnect with them, they're not having it, and with good reason. While he's been riding out his post-resignation massive pity party and shame spiral in luxurious Chateau Picard, Raffi's been sinking into the depths of humiliation, rage, and substance abuse. Oh, my name's Raffi. Something she already struggled with. Well, so she didn't really, did she? She just went and did it anyway. Like, what are you talking about? She doesn't mince words when JL? Oh my god, you're just representing how bad this show is. Shows up asking for help. I'd show you around my estate, but it's more of a hovel, and that would be humiliating. Elnor, on the other hand, yeah, acts like a child. What? And he just keeps messing up. My god, this article is terrible. If Picard materializing on Vashti, bedecked in classic colonizer, harbinger of joy. Oh my god. Ah! Isn't a harbinger of poor choices and broken promises to come, I don't know what is. In absolute candor, we see the big picture fallout of Picard's resignation. Millions of Romulans. Millions of Romulans where they've got a fleet of like 200 warbirds or whatever it is, right? They had planets. They were their own version of Starfleet. I mean, if it, like, what? A military force of a civilization or a nation or whatever is directly representative of that nation's wealth. So it's not his fault that they were left here. In fact, it's the Romulans' fault that they were left here. Because they were just, like, they just were abandoned. Not by Star. It's not Starfleet's job to look after them. It's the bloody Romulans. And they got 200 warbirds. For fuck's sake. Oh, my lord. But he's still organic. Oh, here we go. As season 1 concludes, it becomes clear that the ultimate reckoning will be with the arrogance of the folks at the top of the universal hierarchy. Organics. Of course. And that's probably what? Is that representative of, like, cisgendered or whatever people call it now? Despite the fact that the admonition literally breaks organics' brains, they never consider the message might not actually be for them, but for synthetics. The notion that a synthetic super race, that was such a lame plot point. With that in mind, Sutra's, karma, Sutra's concern that organics will always threaten synthetic life is completely valid. Not really, because she's part organic, idiot. Banning synthetics was just a way of exterminating us in advance. She's part organic. This may not justify Sutra's bad choices, but it's certainly a viewpoint Picard should have considered before making more promises. Whatever. His friends make him a bad person. This is just terrible. Still, Picard has one privilege that we can't find fault with. It's just all about his privilege, isn't it? Picard's got too much privilege. Seriously. And hold on. Hold on, ladies and gents. Hold on. Who wrote this? Shall we have a look, right? Because they don't front the article with this. By someone called Ruth Terry, yeah? Who's Ruth Terry? Oh, Ruth is a black Latinx freelancer based in Istanbul who writes about culture, travel and wellness. She still hasn't finished all of Deep Space Nine. She's a race baiter. Black Latinx. What does Latinx mean? Lanx. Latinx. Super cool, mate. I'm pretty sure most Latin people, Spanish, whatever, absolutely hate that term, don't they? They find it quite offensive. Latinx. Sounds like a superhero. What are you? I'm Latinx. What's your superpower? I'm a fly around race baiting everyone. Fuck this. Anyway, I thought you'd find this funny. Take care.